Yeah, we do the recording just for other people's like reference later. So yeah, this is community. Um, so the first one is for the Mimir 3 launch. I'm not sure many of you have seen this diagram or have seen this video before. Right now, the plan is to launch Mimir 3, the new major version in the fall. And this is a general overview of the architecture. I think the most meaningful change is the decoupling of read and write. As you can see here on the left-hand side, this is the current architecture. On the right-hand side, essentially we put ingestors on the read path. For Grafana Labs or for the cloud version, we use a component called warp. It's essentially the more like managed Kafka, but again, for community version, you can also use Kafka compatible protocols. So we can also go over that later in the call. Regarding the key changes, I think these are the most meaningful changes we introduced in Mimir 3. For example, we require query frontend and scheduler, and we'll default to the Mimir query engine. It's already on Mimir 2, so this is not something surprising. Another thing is for Ingesttors or the Kafka components. We might not make it default at the beginning, but over time, we'll make this component default. The last one to call out is a no read or write deployment in the future. But we will still keep the monolith modes in Mimir 3. I think that's pretty much the overview of everything we plan to do. And in the community channel, we kind of ask a question of like, what are the most common probably questions you might have? And this is a list we have already compiled today. Feel free to read through this. If you have additional questions, feel free to ask live or directly in the chat, and we'll have people from Grafana Labs to answer if we know the answer already. So that's pretty much the overview of what we have. I'll probably just pause here to see whether people have any questions. Let me share the FAQ page. I think this one, you can read through this.
I'm gonna go ahead and add this to the notes doc as well.
To add some context to the key changes slide that Zhao presented, in 3.0, we are requiring the query front end and query scheduler components. If you're using the Helm chart or JSONet, you're already running these probably, but up till now they've been technically optional, but we're making them required because it makes it simpler to run Mimir if we don't have to support running it multiple different ways for the read path. And then obviously the big change is ingest storage, which is a whole thing.
A question about the last question listed on these FAQs. It asked like whether we need any third-party tools, application infrastructure. Technically, we do, right? Because we need Kafka in order to run Mimir 3.0.
Yes. So the Mimir binary still has everything except for object storage, Kafka, and cache. But yes, if you use ingest storage, you will need Kafka. It's not required to use ingest storage in Mimir 3.0, but it will be available, and it might be the default. We're still figuring out what that would look like, but you'll still be able to run the classic architecture in 3.0 if you want. You don't want to have to deal with Kafka at this time.
Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah, just a follow-up question. So, is that going to be supported until version 4, or I guess, like, I believe, like, at some point we will be kind of zoning out the existing functionalities and then kind of make the Kafka as default.
Yeah, I think that is the plan. Though classic mode is not going away for a while. It would be a 4.0 change, which is, you know, far in the future. We haven't actually set a timeline for that or anything like that yet.
Cool. Thank you.
I did have one question about how this would affect the enterprise product. This would also be available if you're an enterprise user.
Right now, we don't have a plan to support enterprise. But yeah, we'll probably make a decision very soon.
I have a quick question. Like, I have read somewhere that Mimir 3 won't be backward compatible with your previous storage. So, can we have some more information on that?
I'm not sure what you mean. The TSDB format that gets stored in object storage isn't changing. So you'll still be able to read all your previously ingested data. That will still work. That will still be the same format. The migration to the Kafka architecture is we haven't sort of decided on what the migration plan will be, but it's going to be involved. It's going to be a bit complicated. But things that have been ingested and live in object storage already, the format's not changing. So you'll be able to read historical data. Obviously, that would be a really awful change to make. So,
Got it. Makes sense.
In regards to kind of using any Kafka compatible APIs, would there be any difference in performance, or would there be any kind of benchmark available, like if you use WarpStream versus if you don't use your own Kafka cluster or run like Confluent cloud service, etc.? So
we run WarpStream in Grafana Cloud, and we can sort of share our experience with it. But the Mimir darks aren't really going to have a comprehensive, this is the Kafka implementation you should pick section. Like we're going to leave it for everyone to make their own decisions. Because WarpStream uses object storage, we found that the end-to-end latency is higher than regular Kafka.
I think that's probably the area we need some contribution or feedback from the community regarding other Kafka compatible protocol. For us, we have only tested WarpStream. By the way, WarpStream is part of Confluent now. So essentially it's probably part of their offerings. But regarding other Kafka compatible API protocols, we probably need some community driven contributions. Like if you use Amazon version or any other flavors, we don't know from our end.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you. One more question. So if we go back to the architecture, we still keeping the ingesttors in. I wonder whether this they're going to become sort of misnomer now, because now we have the new component block builder. I think they are the kind of essentially the ingestors now. And are we going to kind of zone out ingestors as well and then kind of merge with the queries?
So yeah, they're named wrong in the new architecture. Block builder isn't enabled by default or used by default in the new architecture yet. It will be eventually, but it's not today. Like even in our environments, we're not using it in all of them. We're still working through some things. But yes, the ingestors are named wrong, but they're still responsible for building and uploading blocks for a little while.
Thank you.
Maybe one question I want to ask the audience here is like, let's say if you want to migrate to Mimir 3, what are the concerns regarding migration, especially if you run anything in production or large scale? Do you have any concerns or anything we can provide as like input?
I think like at least from where I come from, like the biggest concern we have that now we have this additional component to run, while in the past you could just deploy, you just need Kubernetes, you deploy with the Mimir distributed architecture and it just work. Now we need to think about this, Kafka, and I think with all the challenges which comes with that. So I think that's the main concern, but I guess that's just the architectural choice which we made. So we just have to see how that kind of spans out. And Kafka is not an easy thing to run, right? Like it's not like something you can just kind of spun up easily. Significant resource requirements and all the challenges that comes with that.
The managed Kafka that a lot of cloud providers might help with that. If that's an option.
I guess like also related kind of like this also like now the cost of having managed Kafka is also significantly higher than so I think that kind of adds to overall.
So because classic architecture is not going away in 3.0, you could put off needing to run Kafka yourselves for a while. We anticipate this will be the default in the future, but if you want to, save that problem for another day, that's an option.
Yes. Thanks.
Just wondering if it would be possible to get like a documentation or something that shows the usage of Kafka depending on how big is the load in Mimir. That if we can get something like that, would be really good. So we can how can I say it? Like we can see how it's going to be, or how it's going to be in our platform, for example. It would be that
You're
big
asking
option.
about resource usage? So like
Yeah,
to help with pre-provision Kafka.
Sorry, say that again?
To help pre-provision Kafka, like allocate resources.
No, like let's say like, okay, I got like 1 billion metrics, like how that will affect to Kafka in this situation and things like that,
So maybe like maybe records per second or bytes per second, something like this.
Yeah, that would be.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it obviously depends a lot on usage, but we might be able to come up with some
Yeah,
directionally correct estimates.
yeah. I was just thinking, like, sometimes in our, for example, in our Mimir, we have a lot of spikes on different times of the day, so we just need to figure out, okay, do we need to be like concerned about the amount of data that is coming, like the storage on the workers and all that stuff. That is something that we would need to have in consideration when managing Kafka and all that stuff. So it's just a bit of overall usage on like I have this much of bytes per second. You would need this amount of resources, or you will need to tune it in a way that only consumes X or things like that. Like it would be good to have, I think.
I'm curious. I don't think it matters a lot, but are you planning on using an existing Kafka cluster? Is this what you're asking?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks.
Maybe besides the Kafka components, do you guys have any other concerns about other probably key changes? Especially like, for example, do you guys have any feedback for query engine, or like if we require query frontend, query scheduler, how will that impact you guys? I don't think these changes are as big as ingest storage, but I just want to double check if you have any feedback or comment.
So we already run, as I said, like if we run in kind of distributed mode, so we already have the query front end and scheduler. So there's no changes on that part. I'm still not sure like what does maybe query engine would mean in kind of in terms of the operations wise.
So that it's in the latest 2.0 release, it's enabled by default in couriers. So you should see a little less memory and CPU usage there, but it's going to be the default everywhere in 3.0. And so, yeah, it's just we obviously test it to make sure it's compatible with the Prometheus engine, but like that's ongoing work to make sure that we match. Does anyone run Mimir on bare metal? Meaning not Kubernetes? That might, in which case, maybe the requiring the query scheduler might affect you if you weren't running it before.
Any additional questions from the community?
Yeah, quick question. So like as we have right now, the current retention inside Ingestor is by default 12 hours, right? So I guess it will continue. And what will be the retention of objects inside Kafka by default? Like, or what is the ideal like suggestion here for the object retention?
Dimitar, you might know this better, but I think we use 3 days or 7 days.
So this only determines how long of an outage your ingestors can go through without losing data. Like you could run it technically with an hour of retention. It should work most of the time, but if the ingestors restart and for some reason don't come back up within an hour, you would see some gaps in the data. Kafka is still not used as the write-ahead log. So in a way, when the ingester restarts, it doesn't replay already replayed data from Kafka. So kind of every byte is read only once. This might change in the future, but right now it's only you can think of it as a transport between distributors and ingestors. So yeah, retention depends on how long of an outage you want to tolerate. I'm not sure what we run it with. First storage, we use WarpStream, which stores the data on object store. So storage is kind of cheap, and we run with a few days, just in case.
Got it. Makes sense.
Another thing to mention here is for WarpStream, if you want the open source alternative, there is a project called AutoMQ. We haven't tested that, but you guys can check it out. You can also let us know how it works. So it's essentially pretty much the same as WarpStream. So you guys can check it out.
I guess Red Panda is also now open source, so maybe that can be a good solution here.
A question in the chat. Will there be an upgrade document to migrate from the current architecture to the new one? Yes, there will be. There is not yet. And do you need to do data migrations? There's no need to do data migration. The format in object storage is not changing, so you won't need to do a migration for all your historical data. There's just a migration when switching to the new architecture, and there will be a document and a guide for that, but it doesn't exist yet.
And one piece of detail is that this migration would be a migration documentation about a migration with downtime. So we will focus on that first.
I'm not sure what our exact plan is yet, but there's two ways to migrate. One has downtime and is a lot simpler, and the other one is a bit trickier, but it doesn't involve downtime. TBD.
Nick, regarding your last question, I'm not sure I get it, but are we going to get this new architecture in the mixing dashboard alerts?
Oh, yes. There are alerts for all the relevant parts of the new architecture. The dashboards reflect it if it's enabled. I'm not sure if there's like you have to compile the mixin with like a ingest storage equals true, or if it just works for both architectures. I'd have to check. But yes, it will be included in the mixin.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I saw your comments for the meta monitoring, I assume. Any other questions, comments, or even feedback for the current or the upcoming release?
I would definitely encourage you to go look at the Mimir 3.0 milestone in GitHub. That's where we're tracking all the work. And there's a lot of stuff that's not super interesting or exciting, but it just might be good to make sure, you know, none of these changes will affect you, or you're aware of them at least.
I think there's an additional question. Do we have plan to support eSteel ambient instead of Ingress Nginx? I don't think we have a plan, right? Yeah, I don't think we have a plan. You can provide more context regarding why you want it, and we can probably evaluate from there. Yeah, that sounds great. If you can come up with a PR, so it's much easier to review from there. Any other questions before we go? All good. Okay. Thanks everyone for attending this community call, and also thanks Nick, Dimitar, and everyone who answered your question. And if you have additional questions, feel free to post in the community channel, especially regarding Mimir 3. We will try our best to answer or put in the shared like the doc, so other people can also refer from there. If there are no more questions, thanks again, and I will see you guys online.
Thank you.
Bye.